You have a packet. Have a packet. She doesn't. That's because she's resilient. Jennifer's had COVID. How are you
Everybody got
feeling?
their speakers on? Everybody got the speaker on? Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Uh, Number one is invocation. I guess, Janet, do you want to say the invocation?
Sure. Let's go ahead and stand and then we can go into the flag salute as well. Let us bow. Father, we just thank you for the many opportunities that you have given us. We ask your blessings upon our community as we move forward. Show us how we can best reflect your love and your care with our constituents. It's in Christ's name that we pray and ask these things. Amen.
Okay, Randy, that's-
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Jennifer, can you do the roll call?
Sure, happy to. Trustee Anthony,
Here.
trustee Calhoun, trustee Cross, trustee Johnson,
Here.
trustee Reed,
Here.
vice chairman Scherer,
Here.
chairman Thorpe.
Okay, we need to, number one, consider an action approval of the minutes of regular meetings, call November 12th, 2020. Anybody got any discussion, questions on that?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Janet, got a second by Danny. Any other discussion? Okay, could you have roll call?
Trustee Anthony, trustee Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Reed,
Yes.
vice chairman Scherer,
Yes.
chairman Thorpe.
Okay, we review the DTEDA financial reports, October 20th. Got anything on that?
I think you guys have the report. Is there any questions?
It's on page 7. It starts on page 7.
Church, one is revenue and expense report, and one is your lodging trans revenue report.
So I think that's actually coming up.
The total expenditure for this year is 533,000.
That's the budget, I think.
That's the budget. Okay. Anybody got any questions? Any questions?
Good.
Questions? You did a good job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Okay, now, number 3, discuss and consider approval of the authority
Yeah,
budget.
Ann, I think Ann was, we need Ann for this one, I think. That was actually what she was, I think she thought she was gonna do this one.
Who did?
Ann. Jennifer, you may want to refresh memories on this a little bit. Item number 3.
So this was the one, last month, we had the discussion about like how the reports were. There was a question about the fund balance. And then, so it was discussed that we could do a budget amendment to include that fund balance into our actual budget. So if we wanted to add that to the budget, and then I may add, the authority may consider also amending the legal fees to increase that amount now that we have Mr. Morrison hired as an attorney.
Is that going to require, will the amendment require an action item?
Yes,
Fund,
yes.
fund,
We want to include,
that's just to place the fund balance on the sheet? I'm not real clear on that one.
so, I mean, so that one was one, just for us to be able to include that fund balance into our actual like budgeted amount.
Okay,
Last month, we would have to do a budget amendment on that. So it was added to the agenda this month. But it would require,
is that what Charles was wanting?
yes.
Okay. So we were just going to add that fund balance. Oh, here she is. There she is.
Got out too early. Go ahead.
Remember that you request an additional 150,000 for the advertisement? Yeah. So when you do the budget for the fiscal year 2021, it's already assigned this year's you expecting revenue, and there's about $20,000 left. So before I did this adjustment, your revenue is more than your expense, $20,000. But when you do the budget amendment or adjustment, you ask another $150,000 spending, but you don't have, in this year, you don't have the $150,000 to spend. So that's why I had to use the $20,000 that this year you got kind of like you projected you will have $20,000 remaining minus the 150,000. So I have to use $130,000 your fund, kind of that beginning fund balance to cover that expense. And your fund, you have about about $720,000 fund balance in your fund.
Okay, I think, Ann, I'm trying to remember, I think what Charles was wanting was the fund balance, the total fund balance on a month-to-month basis at the bottom.
No, okay. The thing is that it would your money, your revenue will change. Yeah, but the fund balance, we only do it once a year.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I mean, and I want to point out again that Jennifer made a spreadsheet on page 14. And that does give the expenditures, it breaks it down, it shows exactly what everything is on a month-to-month basis. And at the top, it has the total amount in the DTA account. So I really think, personally, I think that's sufficient. I mean, that's my opinion. And I think what Ann is telling us is that we can't do that. We can't list that on I think where he's wanting it is on the unaudited sheet.
Well, I'm not sure what Jennifer did, but from my budget side, that's how we can do it. Did she want to do it monthly one?
He was wanting to know on a month-to-month basis exactly the exact amount that was in the account, not broken down into, or that was my understanding, Ann, I think. Was that
Well-
yours, Mr. Morrison?
That's what I understood he said.
Okay,
And it looks like the sheet that Jennifer has does that.
Yeah.
At the end of the month.
Yeah, and I didn't remember anything requiring a spoke budget.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Which would be an action item, but this, if it's just an accounting, a different way of the accounting, I don't think it's an issue.
Okay,
Now, we're running 1 month behind on this is what we're doing. This is for 10/31.
Yes, sir.
And I might say the only other thing that about the, even if we're gonna be an action item, it's not specific as to what part of the budget you want to elect to take action on that item without.
Okay, any more questions? Gotta ask her because she's not coming back again. Thank you, Ann. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Ann.
Okay, so now we're down to, I guess, discuss and consider approval of authority for the budget amendment. Is that where we're at?
We just went off of that one.
We just came off of that one? All right, then we'll go to number 4, discuss and elect secretary and treasurer for the Dteda for bylaws that were amended during November 2020 regular meetings. And so do we have any?
I would like to put Debbie Anthony as secretary, if she's acceptable.
You'll need to vote separately. You'll need to have a nomination, a second, just like Robert's Rules of Order, to elect those offices. And you already did you authorized the resolution and actually have it
Yes.
for everybody to sign once they're elected. And you also approved the contract with the city of Durant for administrative services. And Mr. Dean, I realize now why I didn't have anybody sign it, because we didn't have a secretary yet. So I have that, and the secretary and the chairman can sign it as well once elected.
Okay, so we
Then
have,
let me rephrase that. I would like to nominate Debbie Anthony as
So-
secretary.
so we have a nomination of Debbie Anthony. Do we have any more to nomination? All right, so.
I'll second.
Janet has nominated Debbie. We have a second to that.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, Brandon seconds. Can we have a roll call?
You need to ask if there's any more nominations, and then you can close.
Yes, we have any more to nominate, any nominations again? Okay, then we'll close that and on this, do we have okay, so now we have so you
Roll call.
went in, okay, so you already went ahead and motioned, right? And Brandon had a second. Roll call. We have a roll call?
Trustee Anthony,
I need to abstain.
Yeah.
You can vote.
You can vote for yourself if you want to.
No, yes.
Trustee Johnson,
Yes.
Trustee Reed,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scherer,
Yes.
Chairman Thorpe.
Yes. Okay, so on the treasurer, do we have any nominations on that?
I'd like to nominate Brandon Johnson. I'll second.
Okay. Got any more nominations? No more nominations? Okay, so Brandon, you're happy with that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so we had a motion by Janet and a second by Debbie. We have a roll call.
Trustee Anthony,
Yes.
Trustee Johnson,
Yes.
Trustee Reed,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scherer,
Yes.
Chairman Thorpe.
So Judge, that will keep that in line. That's what you needed on that, right?
Yes, yes. And then once the meeting's over, at some point, I'll need you as chairman and Debbie as secretary to sign execute the resolution and the contract with the city. And we'll present it to the city for Mr. Dean and the city attorney.
Okay, okay. All right, so number 5, discuss and consider approval of the Q funding for Durant Master Plan. You have somebody coming up, got Curtis coming up and Kara. What page,
First, I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to present it to you again. I just want to go back and cover a little background. You know, we presented, the original plan was just try to light up downtown, try to get something done quick, try to create some buzz about tourism. Ran into some roadblocks. You guys are unable to use your funding for capital improvements. So it made us take a step back and kind of reevaluate what our plan was. And so instead of just trying to throw up some lights, throw something at the wall, see what sticks, we decided let's go back and let's try to really plan the best way to use these funds. How can we make the biggest impact with the smallest amount of investment? And I know one of the things that Trustee Calhoun really wanted was a master plan, but the problem with trying to get to a master plan, that's the master plan of the city. That's huge tax dollars. That's going to involve that's way beyond the scope of what we can accomplish here. So our goal is now, again, how can we make the quickest impact reasonably to increase tourism inside our city? And it's going to have to be a step-by-step process. This is just, in other words, is what I'm really telling you is this isn't the only time we're coming looking for funding to try to increase foot traffic inside the city of Durant. So we backed up, and now I want to make sure that you understand this isn't just me. It isn't Imagine Durant. We have an organized committee that includes the city of Durant. John Dean sits in with us. Imagine Durant, the Blue Zones group, the Chamber, Main Street. One of the things that we've always done in our town, and I think we talked about that before, is our finite resources tend to get splintered and everybody pulling things different directions. And so the money that we're trying to spend to attract tourism, we're trying to really focus it down. And so through that group, we've appointed Kara and Imagine Durant to kind of be the tip of the spear, so to speak, in implementing the plans that we're trying to come up with. And so in that, we've had some long conversations with Amy Connolly, who is hired by the city of Fort Worth. She was also worked in the city of Racine, Wisconsin, and doing something very similar. That's a city of about 200,000. Their budget and what they were able to spend is exponentially more than what we can. But one of the first things they did was contract with a consultant that is an expert in generating tourism inside cities. And he's highly recommended by people from the Blue Zones group, by Amy Connolly, the city of Fort Worth. We have a couple other references that we're chasing down in Oregon and in New York that we're going to talk to. But we really, really, truly think this gentleman has worked in 2,000 cities across the US and Canada. The dividends paid on this, I think, will be exponential. I think he will be able to show us a lot of low-hanging fruit, and a lot of it we probably already know. But he'll give us some tidbits that will make a huge impact in our city. And again, let's make sure that we understand that the goal of this is how can we increase tourism and sales tax dollars to the city of Durant, which is really the first step in bigger plans and projects of how can we make our city more appealing to live in? How can we make our city more appealing to visit? How can we make it a better city for the people who already live here? And so big plans, little steps, and this is just the first one. And so as what you have in front of you is a quote from Mr. Brooks, Roger Brooks, for $35,000 to come in and do an assessment. He also has a piece of his assessment. Man, it sure is hard to breathe with this. He has a piece of the assessment that actually is a recovery piece and coming out of COVID. He's done this in several cities across the US through this year and helping them establish plans for coming through the backside of the pandemic. Now, I can tell you, I think we're probably a little bit blessed to be where we are. As bad as the pandemic's been, it's been a whole lot worse in a lot of other places. But again, I think this is just another piece of the puzzle that really could enhance our downtown area, our city as a whole. And so in that, we've also tried to come up with, the worst thing we could do is come up with a plan like this and have someone come in and give us all these recommendations and spend all of our money here. Well, the city has already stepped up and promised $25,000 to implement. We'd like to ask DIA to step up and be part of that. We haven't been able to do that yet. And then we've got some other resources that will help fund some money to try to get some of these things implemented quickly. And the biggest goal behind that is too many times we've had plans and none of the resources to implement those plans. That's what we want to do here. We want somebody to help us put a plan together, and we want to have dollars on the backside to make meaningful impacts to get our tourism stimulated in downtown. And then on the backside of it, there's a lot of other things, and we're going to be coming back again. We've got some other plans, and we want this all to be cohesive. We're going to ask the Choctaw Nation to be a part of our group of trying to focus on how to stimulate these tourism dollars in Durant. And so again, this isn't me, it isn't Carrie. It's a group of concerned people and groups, entities inside the city. We're all fighting the same fight. Let's just make sure that we're all on the same battle plan. And with that, unless Carrie, you have something else you'd like to add.
I would only say that if you notice, he not only has an assessment, but he does have an action plan that goes with it. And according to the other communities he's worked in, he'll give you 60 to 80 different actionable items that you can implement. Some you can implement right away, and some may be a 2 or a 3 year plan. So I'm really excited about the fact that he doesn't just come in, secret shop, give an assessment, but he actually gives us a true action plan with champions and actually helps us to identify funding outside of what we've already got committed to help implement that action plan. So that would be my only other comment.
John, is there anything you'd like to add?
Will this be going through the Durant Main Street?
Actually, we would be asking that you would fund it through not Main Street, but through Imagine Durant. Like I said, Imagine Durant has kind of been elected through that group as the tip of the spear where this would all run through.
And who else is contributing? You're looking at 35,000. Who
Well,
else is contributing?
35 from you guys. The city of Durant's already stepped up for 25. We're going to ask for 25. If you'll remember, whenever we talked about trying to do a big grandiose plan, we were talking about 100,000 for the plan, and we were hoping we could get some money. This is a much more abbreviated plan with more immediate actions that we can take that will make impacts quicker. And it will allow us to raise additional funds, not to fund a plan, but to fund projects. And that's the biggest thing we want to see happen. And it's not whether it's lighting, whether it's streetscapes. This is an expert in the field that's going to come in. He'll spend a week inside our city secret shopping. Nobody in town will know when he's coming. I mean, we have a general idea of dates when he'll be here. We don't want it published. We want him to come in. He comes in as a tourist. He takes pictures, he looks, he tries to find things. What can he find? What attractions do we not have marked? And he'll give us an outsider's expert. And to be honest, he'll be able to see things that we don't see because we live here. And he'll be able to say things that we can't say. For just that political side. And again, this is a view that I think we desperately need. And again, it gives us action items with funding that we can take.
So who's on your board?
Well,
Who's on your board?
Well, it's really not a board. It's a kind of cohesive group between the chamber, Main Street, Imagine Durant, Blue Zones, the city, and myself. And it's Janet, Stephanie, Kara, John Dean, and Kara and I did talk. If you guys would like to appoint somebody else, we have to be careful because of the number of people. But if you have somebody else besides Janet that you'd like to sit on that, we're more than happy to have you. And we're also trying to encourage the tribe to be a part of this. They are a huge part of this.
Whose account is this going to be put in? The money you're going to put in?
Imagine Durant. It will run through Imagine Durant. And it'll be dollar for dollar. What runs through Imagine Durant will go directly to Mr. Brooks.
Jim, I can't vote on it, and I don't intend to. I will abstain. But I do think that this is a project that can hopefully move us forward. And I feel like that this is also within the legal parameters of the use of funds that we can actually expend for that. And I'm looking at Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest
I like the Main
questions,
Street
was
program.
probably for Mark on, is this something we can use funds for?
I always remind you that the purposes of the trust are set out to promote, I've made this comment a couple of meetings, tourism, economic development. And it's not and or, it's run together, and those terms are defined, and it probably was intentionally left rather broad on some interpretations. To correct one thing, that the lighting was, in my opinion, was not illegal because it was a quote. It is an improvement, but it doesn't. Public trust can contribute under certain circumstances to capital improvement. But this lighting project didn't fall under the statutory language that I won't go through all of yet. So you can make contributions to capital improvements, it's got to be certain things. But in this case, the city of Durant has to be the beneficiary and it has to promote the general purpose. It's my opinion that this request fits the general purpose of the trust indenture. Now, whether it's a wise expenditure of this fund and whether it's viable, and there's all kind of other issues that you have a right to decide. Do we give as much, do we give more, do we give less, do we match the request, do we make it contingent on other people stepping up, contributing what they say they will? And those are all fact things that you all have a right to decide, and you would have to determine as a board. But as far as the purpose of it, I think it fits the purpose of the trust indenture. I think it falls in the parameter of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mason.
And with that, I feel very comfortable promoting this and trying to push it.
You know,
forward.
anytime they're gonna build a hotel or a restaurant, they have an insider come in and do a whole market analysis to make sure that's a good location in town and whatever to fit the franchise or what it may be. But they always hire an expert outside of town to come in and give a marketing report on how they feel it would be successful or not. And I feel like that's kind of what this is, to have an outsider give us a report.
I've talked to Charles, and the only thing, and I appreciate the downtown. We got one of the nicest downtowns that, I've been to. When you go through other towns, they did an excellent job keeping it up. But I've talked to Charles, and the only thing we're concerned about on tourism, on downtown, most of the people that come downtown comes and shops within a 25, 30 mile an hour, 30 miles, circumference on that. Most people don't come from Dallas to Oklahoma City to shop in downtown because they have downtown at their own.
So let me,
I'm understanding, how far do you think?
let me
tourists go?
let me back up and remind you, the biggest marketing opportunity for the city of Durant as a whole that we have is every weekend our city goes, and it's not exact, but from the Blue Zones report, and they did some in-depth studies, our city goes from 20 to 50,000 people every weekend, because there's 30,000 people that show up at a casino that's 3 miles from our town. Now, whether they shop at Walmart, whether they shop on the west side of town, whether they shop on the east side of town, whether they go to our downtown, that is the cheapest, easiest, no-brainer marketing that we have for our city. I mean, those are people that are already here. We need them to travel 3 miles. And now that we have wonderful restaurants, we have some other facilities that are opening, and as we can start getting more shopping opportunities downtown, it creates some other issues and some other hurdles we need to jump to maximize this. But that is the easiest marketing dollar we can spend. And the other thing about that is that Roger is very, very adamant about. You can market to anybody anything, and you can get them to show up once, but what do we have that makes them want to come back? What is it that makes us a destination?
So you think on weekends, we have a lot of people from Dallas and Oklahoma City and other places coming
Oh,
in
we
just to
do
shop
at the
in Durant?
hotel every weekend because they come to the casino, but if they hear about all these
Right now,
restaurants, if they go down there once, they might come back just to shop. They're not coming to Durant to shop the first time probably. But they went to the casino, they got a couple hours, they're tired of gambling, and we tell them about downtown, and if they go down there and see how cool it is, I think they might make a point to come back.
that's the easiest marketing dollar you guys can spend.
And
One of
one
the
thing that
things-
Roger, I'm so sorry, Janet. One thing Roger does do is, yes, there is a focus on downtown, but he also comes in from every aspect of how are you coming into your community? He's looking at it from that point. He's asking what makes us unique. He helps to identify a brand. He asks, how can we attract more tourists from different locations? Also, what can we do with our budget that makes us a more better sustainable destination? So while he is doing a focus on downtown, he is also looking at us, at our community as a whole.
Well, and I think in phase 2, and that was exactly what I was going to point out, Kara. In phase 2, if you look at the document that Kara delivered, he lists the things that he review local, regional, and state websites. He looks at the social media, look at lodging options. So he's not only going to be in the downtown area, this is going to be throughout the community.
He's looking at the city of Durant. And the other thing that I can add about what you mentioned about most of the people in our downtown come from 20 or 30 miles. That's again, some of the best marketing dollars. I can tell you from personal experience, I can tell you to several other people in this room that whenever we go out on a weekend, because we don't have what we want to see here, I can't do shopping. I can't go out to eat. I can't go to a nice place to have a drink. I end up at Waters Creek in Dallas. If we could just keep some of our own people and our own tax dollars here by creating an environment our own residents want to stay in, that
So
That's
on
easy.
this, you're asking for 25,000.
I'm asking-
Do you have
we're,
people?
we're asking for 35.
You're asking for 35? And so you do have people that are contributing from the banks and the CPAs and different.
We
places,
haven't, we
right?
haven't approached them at this point.
You
Is,
didn't?
is what we want is when tourism pays for the plan, the other money we can generate goes directly towards funding the projects that come out of that plan.
Are
Every
you
dollar.
planning on, in the future, asking for money from the city?
The city's already said, the
businesses?
city's going to give us 25. We hope to get some money from DIA. We've
Yeah, I'm
got,
talking about from the businesses, not from the city of Durant.
we can go back and ask some of these businesses to participate in this, but, and that's one of the things that's been brought up, you know. I'm sure Brandon's more than happy to participate. I'm sure Shamrock Bank is more than happy to participate, but we can only go back to our local businesses and ask them so many times for money. I mean, we all get killed by some of this stuff. And is what really gets to me is we have people investing a large sum of money in our downtown, those business owners, the people who are sitting there owning buildings, renting buildings, capital injection. I mean, Law Street Brewery is a huge capital injection to our downtown. And at some point in time, we need to help them. You know, the city's already stepped up through DIA and done some capital improvements around that facility. Let's dress up downtown. Let's get people out of the casino. Let's get people that are passing through. Let's get people out of Debbie's hotel, out of yours, to our downtown spending money. And that's exactly what this does.
Is the DIA putting in $10,000-$20,000?
We're gonna ask them. We talked to them previously during the previous plan, and we were fairly encouraged, but we've got to go back and talk to them about it.
And you said how much comes from the city of Durant?
25.
So you think you probably can get 25 from the DIA too?
That's what we're gonna ask for. I think Blue Zones may have a little bit of money they can pitch in. We've got some other entities that we're probably going to go ask for. And again, those are directly funding the projects, but we need tourism to step up and help with the plan.
Any more questions?
Are you asking us for money to pay for the planning study?
For the plan and the
or
study,
for
yes.
Future projects.
The projects, we won't be able to raise the money for all the projects that come out of this plan. We're going to have to pick and choose. We're going to pay for as many of them, and we'll prioritize them the best we can, what we think is the biggest bang for the buck. You know, but at this time for this project, this is all we're asking from tourism right now is to fund the study. Let's get the plan in place. Let's get somebody from outside that understands marketing a city, and let's get down the road, and then we'll raise as much money as we can to implement the plan.
So are you asking us for $35,000?
Yes, sir.
For the plan?
Yes, sir. We're
And
asking,
You have a commitment, the 25,000 from the city is for what?
John, implementation of the plan.
Projects. Okay. How did you land on Mr. Brooks? How did you?
Again,
select him?
we started reaching out to several people. Amy Connolly is somebody who Blue Zones is very familiar with, and she had worked through Blue Zones several times. She's now an employee of the city of Fort Worth. City of Fort Worth is a Blue Zones, but she works directly for the city. She was a wonderful, wonderful resource, and she's done several of these with other cities, and she was most impressed by Mr. Brooks. And again, we're going to do a little more legwork and check it out, but everything we've seen inside your packet, there's information where you can get on YouTube and see his presentation to several other cities. And I'll tell you, if you watch the one for Racine, the first 20 minutes, he could have been talking about Durant.
Have y'all talked to anybody else besides Mr.
We haven't,
Brooks, or-
you know, the thing about it is, we haven't actually interviewed anybody else that does this. I do know that The industrial authority is, through the city, is working on something that there may be a touch of overlap. I don't think it's going to be quite as much towards tourism as it is, towards businesses and what we need. It'll be hard to find somebody else that does exactly what he does.
Especially for this price point. When you're looking at an overall master plan, the person that we were looking at before, it was $100,000 just to have the consultant come in. And so when you look at 100,000 versus 35,000, and then seeing again the metrics that he's putting out with these other communities in his portfolio, he's been doing this for 40 years. And like Curtis said, he's worked with over 2,000 communities in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, and in Scandinavia. So, he had a very, very impressive resume that we didn't really feel like after we talked to him and we got from the national team at Blue Zones and talking to Amy, we were like, really, why would we waste our time continuing to look?
And I understand the 35,000, but if I go to the bank and ask you for 35,000, I've got to have specifics on where am I going to use that and who's going to be paid and all that. That's the only way you'll do it in the bank is to get specifics. And so you're saying 35,000, and maybe for this person, is there an outline on how much it's going to cost exactly, or it's just a general figure of 35,000?
So the 35,000 is his entire engagement. Okay, that gets him here. That's his report. That's him sitting down with stakeholders on the backside. That's every dollar that we pay to Mr. Brooks. All the rest of the funds goes directly into projects that come from the plan.
And I think it's lined out in the proposal.
Yeah,
It does a step by step, and that basically tells what the 35,000.
His deliverables, what he delivers, when he's going to have them delivered. This is based off preliminary dates of start dates, pending that we can get the funding for it. I think everything you guys need is inside this plan.
Somewhere I got the idea that he offers, after this package, he offers some other services.
So he had two packages, and one, the $35,000, there's one for 25. The $35,000 included the assessment, sitting down with stakeholders on the backside and going through the plan.
And creating the action plan.
And creating the
so you
action
have an
plan.
actual plan.
The other was just, he comes in and gives you some suggestions. And so we think it's worth it for him to help us put the action items together, help us prioritize best bang for the buck for the dollars we can raise to get those done.
And again, he also helps us to not only give us an action plan, but he tells us how much each one of those action items are, and he helps us look for the funding resources to implement. So it doesn't necessarily have to be here. He might have funding resources through grants or other things that he's worked with these other communities that he says, this is where you go to get funding to actually be able to implement A, B, C, D that we put in this plan.
So this company will be getting a total 35,000. Some of the money won't be rolled over into.
Every dime of this goes directly to Mr. Brooks.
And again, I want to reemphasize that Imagine Durant is a pass-through for this. They are not a recipient of those funds. They are not going to utilize those funds for anything except the
Basically,
intention.
like they're holding it.
So this is between the chamber and Main Street and y'all.
This
And
is,
And so
Blue
it puts into account, right? And
Well,
so do y'all
no,
have a corporation, a
no,
nonprofit? What do you have?
it's going, as I explained, it's going to flow through Imagine Durant,
Which is a nonprofit.
which is a nonprofit. The stakeholders, the people who are on the committee are Janet from the chamber, Stephanie from Main Street, John Dean with the city. Imagine Durant is just the tip of the spear, okay? That's,
Well, in the blue zones as well.
and blue zones, but that, we wanted to make sure that this is a city project that's done by city entities. And that's, we're doing all this to benefit the city of Durant.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing was just the execution, right? Of, hey, what happens once we get the information? And I didn't want it on a shelf somewhere, spending $35,000. And it sounds like you guys have solved that with Imagine Durant being, hey, we're the lead, as well as the blue zones in that as well. So that's my biggest, I guess, question on it would be just the execution side.
Right.
I've seen too many plans get done and nothing happened.
Well, that,
for
Brandon,
it.
that was exactly one of the conversations we had is, we went through the exercise and there's a wonderful plan for an arts district, but there was no funding left to fund it. And so we want the plan, we want a plan, but we have to have resources to fund it because the plan on the shelf does you no good.
Well,
And I'm sorry, Janet. I would ask if we did end up doing this, I'd like to get that update though. Hey, once it's done, just say, here are the items, here's what's going on,
In
here's the
fact,
direction
we'll-
we're going.
we'll-
I
I
think that
agree
plays hand in
totally.
hand with
We'll
us.
commit to coming back as we get the projects completed and updating you on what's being done, what the next plan is. Yeah, we don't have. a
And
problem with
also,
that.
Brandon, if you will look at his deliverables and some of the things that he's doing, that week-long study that he's here, he actually meets with about 20 stakeholders. And I think it's very vital that someone from the Tourism Authority be in that meeting as well to give the feedback before he even delivers the plan.
Sure.
The guy from Fort Worth, did he give y'all a contract where we could take a look at it on that 35,000? You said. he
What's
was gonna
that?
Take the whole 35,000?
No, Amy Connolly works for the city of Fort Worth. She was the one that put us in contact with Mr. Brooks. Now, Mr. Brooks, there's resources in your packet that you go onto YouTube and watch his presentations. You can find a lot of stuff. You can go to his website and see what he does. I'm a little not quite following what your question is.
But
believe-
that's what he said, that it's gonna cost $35,000 for this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe that the letter of engagement is
Yes.
what will be signed. And Imagine Durant will be the one signing that with him.
But
Could I ask the judge, could you explain to me one deal? Is this legitimate as far as going through this nonprofit organization?
Yeah,
Is that gonna work like that?
As I said earlier, I think it fits the trust purpose. You have a right to decide what's a wise expenditure, of the trust indentures funds, or the trust fund. But it does fit the purpose, and as long as it's flowing, I don't see any legal impediment that it's flowing to a nonprofit.
So you have to have contact with him because he's actually has tentative dates. to
yes,
do this.
yes.
I think it's something is wise. I mean, we can have a lot of plans if we don't act on them, but this something's needed. I think we need some outside expertise and eyes.
And like I said, I think there will be a lot of his suggestions that are going to be what's considered low hanging fruit, and we probably already know it. It's just going to focus us. And plus, this gives us, we have the plan in place, we have outside, and now we have some resources to try to implement some of this. And so that's,
Well, and Curtis, I will mention this, that plan for the Arts District is available, and I'm sure he will want to look at that as
absolutely,
well.
absolutely.
I know you're asking us for 35,000. Would you have a problem for us putting a contingent on the DIA giving you 35,000 too?
Well, I
Since
don't
you're
know
in
the
the same
DIA
thing?
will give you 35. I mean, they discussed, we never got a commitment from anybody from DIA. They discussed it. Like I said, we're going to go back and ask for 25. That's not money that can come out of the sales tax. That's coming out of their operating money. So it's a little dicey for DIA, but we are going to go request.
I know the DIA gets between $800,000 and $900,000 a year.
They can't use that sales
Can't
tax
use
money.
it on that.
Yeah,
That's
it
tax
can't be
money.
used for this.
That money cannot be used for this.
Did you want to say something back there?
That's what I was saying, that sales tax money can only be used for job creation, directly related to job creation. It cannot be used for this plan. But if there are projects that come out that fit, what the DIA's purpose is, then that may be something that they can fund. But it's gonna be based on what comes out of the projects.
So how would you be able to get $25,000 from DIA?
From their operating money. That was the discussion whenever we came to you the first time. Like I said, we never got approval or a commitment from that, but there was a discussion that was started. They wanted more information. We're going to present back to them
And
again.
I think it's great that we have partnerships in trying to do this, but once again, we cannot, I don't feel, as a tourism authority, hold another agency or another trust responsible for matching what we're doing, or saying if we will do this, they can do that. We can only speak for the members of this trust in the use of those dollars.
We can, but you can always put a contingent on anything like we do.
Well, and I do
Said
think
that,
it's also
yes.
important though, that, I mean, until we get this information and see what those action items are, it's hard to have other conversations.
Right.
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
with others. And so, I mean, this is definitely the first start to it.
So do you think they have a chance of getting some money from DIA?
I can't speak as to what DIA will do, but you brought up a couple of points that I did want to address. First of all, you have a lot of questions about the 35,000 and Mr. Brooks, and frankly, is he worth it because we don't know him? I'll tell you that I hold certification in his field, And I don't feel confident enough, I don't have enough experience to do what Mr. Brooks can come to our town and do. He's got 2,000 communities under his belt nationwide. He'll have a community engagement component, which is very time consuming. And he will earn every penny of the money that he's paid. $35,000, frankly, is a good price for his professional expertise in our community. As far as the money being spent and is it worth spending that kind of money for just a plan? You know, we've had this conversation over the last several months about the changes that we need to implement downtown and how we need to improve quality of life, improve the nightlife, enhance things in the downtown to attract not only tourism, but also that workforce. Remember, we had that conversation, I think my first week on the job, Jim, is how are we going to get more workers here for our companies? Mr. Brooks not only works on, you know, hey, bring them here, the marketing side, which is what we've all been doing. Hey, let's put ads and stuff and get them here. Mr. Brooks' focus is on, once we get them, how do we get them to fall in love with the brand, come back and visit, move here and work at some of these job vacancies that our companies are having. So it's looking at it bigger picture. I think it's a win for all of us if we can get Mr. Brooks to come to our town and put a plan together for us. And these are low-hanging fruit. These are projects that we can implement the day he's here, the day he leaves.
Any more questions?
No,
If not, I'll make a motion to approve 35,000 paid to Imagine Durant for Roger Brooks of Destination Development Association to come in and do this plan.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got Brandon making a motion, Debbie second. Any more discussion on this? Okay, need a roll call.
Trustee Anthony,
Yes.
trustee Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Reed,
Dang.
vice chairman Scherer,
Yes.
chairman Thorpe.
All right, thank you for your
Thank you
presentation.
Thank you
all
very
so
much.
Thanks for all your work on it.
We're incredibly excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next one is discuss and consider convention center. We'll need the judge to come up here because we don't even know if that's legal or not, but we're just asking you, can we do it?
How long do we have today for a meeting? Before we gotta be done. Well, of course, it's a great idea, and I think and the short answer is yes, you could do it if if everything fell just right, probably, but there's a lot of things to think about. And I think what you do today is you start a discussion and you start thinking, and then you try to, because it's a big undertaking. A convention center could be somebody renting a space over here in a building and fielding phone calls. A convention center could be something like sits on I-35 in Ardmore. Convention center could be the Cox Center, whatever it's called, the convention center next to the Cox Center in Oklahoma City. I mean, those are all versions of a quote convention center. What you have to think about, I don't remember the exact numbers, but this authority has what, $700,000-800,000 in the bank. I don't know how, you probably build a convention center about as big as my law office for that, maybe, I don't know. So not without being facetious, it's a multi-million-dollar project. I don't know how much, but it's a lot of money. And so I think you have to develop a plan. What are you thinking about? A concept is the magic word. And then you have to start thinking about how would we get there and how would the board get there? The purpose of the beneficiary would be the city, obviously. The purpose for a tourism convention center seems to be there. But obviously it's a very expensive undertaking. So to me, the base question is what's the concept for what's wanting to be done? Secondly, how's it going to be funded? Because you can't build it for what you have in the bank. So just thinking logically, the possibilities are partner with other entities, because the Trust Act does allow you to partner with other entities, even if they're out of the city limits sometimes, if the city is still the beneficiary. So there's partnership issues that can be explored. have to figure, are you thinking about a shell out here? You know, just a building that somebody can rent? Are you looking at having administrative staff where there's going to be revenue generated? So my point is, what's the budget? What's it going to cost to build it? You don't have the money in the bank to do it. So is the money you have plus the money that the tax generates each year, plus the revenue, that projected revenue that the facility might generate, the sum or all of those together fund the building of it. You have to remember that if you, if the vehicle to fund the project involves borrowing money, City of Durant, it's got to be first and foremost on it. They'd have any debt that would even be thought about, whether you do it, even if you did it privately, even if, for example, just making stuff up, if you went out and got a bunch of banks, one or more banks or financial institutions to fund it for you or to borrow money, City of Durant's got to approve it. Anything that involves increasing the tax that's already there or getting into some other tax vehicle absolutely requires a vote of the people. So there's a lot of moving parts to this thing. So I think the concept's got to be developed first. And then there would be a certain number of feasibility studies that would have to be done when decide possibilities about the, as I mentioned earlier, the money on hand, the money to be generated by the tax, and the non-tax revenue, the operational revenue, if you will, from a facility. Those are three possibilities that are there. Maybe others I didn't think of. I saw this agenda. I've just had since Monday to think about it, but that's three possibilities. And then you're looking at borrowing money. Again, City of Durant, front and center on that would have to approve that. Or any combination, I'm not talking about the whole project, any part of the project being done on borrowed money, the city absolutely has to bless that. And then if it's going to alter the present tax or require new tax, that's a vote of the people. It's a new initiative. And COVID, today's environment, people's attitude about their taxes being higher in general, those are all practical concerns about any of those. But the short answer is it could be done. You know, it's done right. If the project were going, if a concept is developed in the general framework, what I'm talking about, a concept of what somebody would like to see, there are at least two public finance, or two law firms that I've worked with for many years on public finance projects and otherwise, other capital improvement projects that didn't involve financing or tax initiatives, but I've involved in all of them. And when the process got further along, a firm like that would definitely need to be employed to be in the middle of this, because they, and on a large project, and I think any lawyer would agree with me on this, on a large project, even if it didn't involve some sort of a tax initiative, if it didn't involve borrowing money, because the City of Durant's beneficiary, you have the authority to always get advice and consent from the City of Durant, from the council, because they are the beneficiary. And on a large project, you may decide they need to be in, may need to approve the deal all the way around. Again, if you borrow money, they absolutely have to be consulted and approve it. But it's kind of an incremental thing at this point. It's kind of like my wife and I decided when we were 20 years old, we were going to build a house, you know. Well, we didn't build a house till we got back from law school. I was almost 40 years old before we built a house, you know, right? But I think it's a great idea, and it can be done. It's a short answer.
What I was looking at, I wasn't looking at a multi-million-dollar structure. And I'm just bringing this up, you know, and I think it's a good idea. We might not ever get there. But the place we have now that's on South 9th in front of the rodeo arena, we had our booster club meetings when we were in the high school sports, we had it out there. But what I'm saying, if you could get $500,000 from us and maybe possibly later on get $500,000 from the city of Durant and put us up a better little center out there to have a smaller convention. We're not talking about something like they have over in Ardmore,
Yeah.
but a smaller one like that would take care of different things. They have gun shows out there now. I don't know if they still have the butcher clubs or whatever, but they have, some things out there. I think the Kiwanis go out there, but it would just be a better building than what it is now. And for $1 million, you could put up or take that one down and put a pretty nice one up if the city went for it.
Yeah.
You don't go for that?
You can't, not $1 million, just pie in the sky.
And there's of course, the county owns that property, and so you got other issues with another governmental entity involved as well. But that's a concept. I mean, that's why I'm saying you got to develop a concept and the cost. And of course, as you know, any early cost estimates you get always have to be checked for inflation or built in for inflation, because it won't be, by the time you finish, it's not going to be the same. So there's a lot of considerations in that. But I think the short answer is yes, it can be done.
Well, I think it's a good idea. We might not ever get it, but I think we deserve something
And-
better
and I
than
think
what we
you-
have now.
You have the
And
authority.
maybe later on down the line, we can work and get it. I know it probably costs us some money, but,
You have the authority to study it, the idea, and individuals can study it. I think as chairman, you could appoint a committee to do it. You have to be careful because you can't have a committee that could constitute a quorum. The committee couldn't take action if it's a committee of one, but yeah, I think you'd be careful, and your committee size is never more than, not amount to a quorum of the board, just to gather information. But those are all possibilities that you could do.
and the city might not want it because they've already got one that they're with the sports authority out here. It's costing them probably between $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year. And so apparently they probably don't want another one that they have to keep up.
I
So
think-
we understand that.
I mean, we got the library. How many people can we see at the community center library?
Yeah.
A couple hundred people. Then you got the tribe out here. You can't compete with them. I mean.
But you could partner with them in certain circumstances.
Well,
depending on
that's
what
how come we have you here. It's a good idea. Maybe it'll come to pass
Yeah.
one of these days.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for that.
You bet.
Anybody else have anything to say? All right, so we'll just go to the next one. Discuss and consider grant application for Mr. Coffee LLC. So we're back on that. Got any questions on that?
No,
This
this
is
is
different than
different.
the.
What's different, right, okay. Got anything on that?
I think.
So I will add on this one, they are not a nonprofit organization. And so we normally ask in the attachments for like a copy of a 501c3, IRS determination letter, and like list of board of directors. Those are not included because they are not a 501c3. He did send us a W-9. We had requested a statement from him stating that he is not a 501c3, and that's why there's not the complete attachments checklist included in there, and we have not received that yet. And then we also did not receive like an itemized proposed budget. The most we received on the proposed budget is he answered in question 1 that he has a budget in the amount, but he just didn't have an itemized budget of that amount.
Did anybody look into their background? What size of a business is this, Mr. Coffey?
It's nationwide. They do have quite a few tournaments. They have been, if you'll look at the grant application itself, it has a lot of information in there that can be followed up by just going online and looking at what they have done and where they're growing to. This event has never been a particular event as this. It's not ever been sponsored on Lake Texoma. So this would actually be the first event that they have hosted there. But as Jennifer said, it's really a moot point until we can get the rest of the grant in that he has to have for it.
It's not, my impression of it was not a complete grant.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we just need to table it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions about it?
In the future, do we need it in here if it's not a complete event? I mean, why would it get submitted?
He submitted, requested that we submit it this month. Once we get the grants in, Jennifer goes over them and makes sure that we have everything that the grant requires. Time restraint was the main reason, Brendan, because we were trying to get the information out to the trust so that they could look over it. And in that process, she contacted him, told him what we needed, but he has not gotten it back, so. And you're right, if it's not complete, it does not need to be in there. That was just,
And we've got it set up where we have to have this in 90 days before they have the event, right?
right,
So
he
he's
has
gotta have
ample
it okay.
time.
He's got about another month. and
He
that's all
has
we got.
ample time. He has ample time if he wants to bring it back. So the time restraint is the main thing, was
Okay.
the main thing on that. But that's a very good point.
Any more questions? Judge, is it better just to table it or just let it?
I don't think, I just think if you don't have a motion, you just don't take any action and it can be brought
Okay.
back.
No action.
Okay. No more questions? Okay, we won't take any actions on that. All righty, so we'll go to the next one. Discuss and consider approval of advertising Discover Durant 2021. What do we have on that?
The rate sheet is included in the packet. It's on page 44. This is the Discover Durant we advertised in last year. And they also allowed us to add our information on the cover of the Discover Durant on there. So this is the one that we did the full page last year. And so we would request for the full page again this year for that one. This is the one that they put out in the different travel centers across the state, also going into Texas as well. It shipped up to the state tourism department, and so they also send it out to their different welcome centers there.
So what are we looking at? We're looking at
We would request a full page ad again.
now this one, it says Discover Durant, and then it has Durant Chamber of Commerce on the bottom of it.
It also discovered Durant on there as well,
Okay.
which is packed. They don't have that. It's not on there. On the original book, and I'm sorry, I don't have the original book, but it does have the Discover Durant.
Well, it's
and
got
the
Discover
information.
Durant
No,
up
no,
here.
no. It has a tag at the bottom that says Discover Durant and has the information on it in the actual book itself.
You just tried to confuse us today, didn't you?
I guess I did.
It's too easy.
Okay, so what do we want to do on that?
Good catch, Jim.
What do we want? Any more questions?
Does the Durant Democrat produce this?
Yes.
Is it who produces it?
And again, how much is this gonna cost us?
$965.
How much?
$965.
Yeah, I see that.
I think that's pretty cheap for every place they go.
Any more questions? Have a motion?
I have a motion to fund the Discover Durant full page ad for $965.
We got a motion by Debbie, second.
Second.
Second by Danny. Any more questions? Need roll call?
Trustee Anthony?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Okay.
Vice Chairman Scherer?
Yes.
And Chairman Thorpe?
Yes. Okay, number B, prices printing and ad creation. How's that coming along?
Good. We've reached out to Prices Printing to ask them how they would feel about creating us an ad just to be able to use in the different magazines that we are promoting across. That way we have like a uniform ad across all of them. And then they came back and they quoted that they would be able to create us an ad to be able to use for $50.
Any questions? Any answers? We got a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the $50 for Process Printing ad creation.
We got a motion to approve the prices printing. By Debbie, who's?
I'll second.
Brandon? Brandon, is that what you did?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, we got a second by Brandon. Any more questions? Okay, give us roll call.
Trustee Anthony? Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scherer?
Yes.
Chairman Thorpe?
Yes. City advertised in Oklahoma and Texas. Can you give us some information on that?
This was the item that you requested to go on. You wanted to discuss different advertising opportunities with the authority?
I don't know.
I thought it was on the monthly.
Well, what?
I
No,
thought it was on
Jim,
the monthly service.
you requested number C, advertising in Oklahoma and Texas. You requested. And asked that it be put on.
Yes.
That's what you was saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And so really what we're doing on that is we really have to just step it up. I think, we ought to go first class on anything we do. And if we're getting advertising down there, even in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or over in magazines, different magazines, I know we're doing it up in Oklahoma pretty good. But I think we ought to start it up and get quality magazines, advertising, even on television still, and do it right and do it good. Janet showed me a brochure over there today at the chamber that it really needed updated, and it was going to cost more. But most people wouldn't even look at that little brochure that much.
Well,
And
I
so
think
anything we do, we need to do it.
Well, I
real
think
good.
with that $35,000, it might give us more of a direction too. So-
I agree. I think getting that done, give us big, that's what we talked about, I think, last month. I think we just gotta have a plan in place instead of just throwing dollars at stuff. And so I think that hopefully that will give us a plan where here's what we need to be doing, here's where we need to be advertising. Plus gets us through another month or so with COVID and get the vaccine out there and people are starting to travel at that point.
One of the things that I had discussed with Jim today, that once we hopefully get some information back on this specific thing that Roger's going to be doing for the community, is to let us focus on that and do an overall marketing plan with a dollar amount on it, so that we can do some of these things like improving those brochures, get this done by a professional. I think DIA has done a great job in moving forward with the new website that they have created, and they focus strictly on economic development. That's one of the things that I think a marketing plan should include, and as we roll that out, we'll have a little bit more information coming from Mr. Roger about this.
And I'm like Brandon, I don't like throwing money out either, but we have enough money to take care of this, and anything we need to do, we need to do with quality. We don't need second class and we don't need third class. We need to put it up and do it right. This is Durant, Oklahoma, and we got to show class every time we do something. So no, you don't throw money, but I guarantee you, we need to throw it first class. We don't have $100,000 in the bank. We can ample enough to take care of this stuff.
Well, he's not saying they'll spend money on it. He's just saying we need to know where we need to spend.
Well, I know, he's just saying, don't throw money out. And I'm not saying throw money out, but I'm saying go first class on anything you do.
Oh,
If you don't, you're just wasting money.
I don't disagree with you there at all. I just think with anything though, you can do anything you want to in advertising, but I think until we know what works, it's changed, right? Especially with the pandemic, it's all changed.
And that's another.
And that's why I was going to be good stewards of our money and where do we need to be advertising to get people here.
That's another point, Brandon. I'm glad you brought that up. With the COVID situation, the way that we have had it, it has basically changed marketing totally, because we're marketing to a totally different audience than we ever have before. One of the things in working closely with the state, their marketing has, I said, came back internally. They're marketing to Oklahomans, encouraging them to visit in other spots. The Discover Oklahoma, it ran UWE last week, which we're on a 3-month rotational basis with them. She told us today, and I requested that she send a
I
letter.
saw it on TV.
It's great. They do a great job, but she has already had 3 different customers that have driven in over 2 to 3 hours that have driven in just to shop in her shop because of that. So we need to be in tune, not only with what's going on in North Texas and the United States, but with, in conjunction with the Oklahoma marketing that they are doing, the tourism, and try to at least get the benefits from those marketing dollars that will come back to us as well. So I think it's money that that's been spent well. And the other thing I talked to Jim about, we have to know where our target market is, and right now we don't. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Now I understand that, we've been in here 3 years and hadn't did very much. And are we talking about getting this marketed together in 3 months or 6 months or another 2 years? That's what I'm looking at. So, man.
Well, I think that on the time frame that they have put out, that we're gonna be able to have something by the end of February. It's what it looks like.
I think we'll have something by the end of February.
Uh-huh.
Any more questions on that? Okay, number 9, discuss and consider approval for Durant Area Chamber of Commerce for the service fee for January 2021 and February 2021. Anybody got any questions on that? Anybody have a motion?
I'll make the motion with plan.
Okay, Danny makes a motion to
Second.
approve this. Who's got a second? Debbie's got a second. We need a roll call.
Trustee Anthony,
Yes.
trustee Johnson,
Yes, I'm sorry.
trustee Reed,
Okay.
vice chairman Scherer,
Yes.
chairman Thorpe.
Yes. Okay, let's go to 10, Durant Area Chamber of Commerce activity report.
It is on the last page of your packet. We've continued to work with Jason on creating the commercial that we approved. The plan is that we will have a commercial ready to show you guys next month on that. We just continued on working on updating the website, working with the state of Oklahoma on their Okay, Here We Go campaign that they've been doing through the COVID. We also worked with the FLW grant that was approved last month. We created a hotel map for them to send out to their anglers that's interactive. So they'll send this PDF out to the anglers, and then those anglers will just be able to click on the hotels and book the hotels for that event that they've got coming up next year.
Did you attach that, Jennifer, to the packet?
I'm sorry,
Did you attach a copy of that to the packet?
I did not, but I'll send that out to the authority,
Okay.
out to everybody this afternoon.
Terrible on it because I can't afford colored prints. But this kind of tells and shows, and when you click on each one of those, it leads you right into that. Okay, now. And when you click on.
Good. Ask you another question. You said you attended the webinar for the COVID-19. What did you learn?
So they've been doing a lot of different webinars about different ways of just doing the campaigning out through social media and online right now, since we've been in the COVID-19 response this year. And so it's just been mainly the advertising plan of that, okay, here we go.
So you really didn't learn very much.
They've been all really good webinars.
That there's a COVID. And that it's impacting the travel industry from this point.
Yeah.
Got any more questions on the activity report? Okay, well, let's go to the marketing and tech report. So he's not here today.
He was unable.
You want to go ahead, Jen? I don't know if you're hearing us or not. I'm sorry.
He messaged earlier today. He was unable to make it today, but he will be here in January and be able to bring visuals. So we'll be able to see those digital marketing ads that he's been creating for us.
Does he already have it made?
Oh, yes, they've been running.
Already seen it? Have you already seen it?
I don't know. I don't think she heard you. It's on, if you will go use your phone, your mobile app, and go on to the Choctaw Resort Casino, and you'll see those fees that are coming in. I'm not sure about the website itself because I've been onto the website, but they don't sell any type of advertising on that website. So it is not on there. But he's been able to take the hits and so forth off of it. But what she is saying, Jim, is that he will come and show us visually where those ads are next time.
So he'll be coming next month
Yes.
for sure. Okay. Because we didn't see him announcement. Anything else on that, on the marketing integrity report? Okay, I guess we got the Choctaw Nation Tourism Department here today.
They are actually at the National Finals Rodeo. So they were unable to attend today, but they will be back with a report next month.
Okay, so we'll go to old business. Any old business that we need to take care of? Any new business anybody comes up with?
Does everyone have a copy of the bylaws and the trust?
No.
Okay. Okay, we will make sure that we have both of those.
I believe I need to get to send them out.
Okay,
Maybe if you could send them out, then maybe we could have, put it on our agenda to discuss any questions about it for next.
Chairman, Deputy Secretary, this is the amendments. I'll give them to you.
Yes.
perfect, perfect. Do
You've
we
already
need to
got-
file those with the city, John? Will those need to be filed with the city? Okay, so do we need to actually let him do that first before, or do
Well,
we
he
take?
is-
Okay,
They definitely need them. You don't have to seal on this.
we don't.
You don't have to have one.
Do we need to get one?
Well, it doesn't hurt. I like the seal document. I still like the secretary. Seal, I'm a whole lawyer.
Yeah, let's get one. Brandon, you've already got the bylaws too?
Well, I'd like to get a copy of them, just make sure everything is.
Well, and they've been amended as
But it's-
well.
This is the contract that you already approved. and that's the one that you need for Mark to look at.
There we go.
Can I just say, our attorney has made this much easier.
Yes.
Well, we needed one. We should have had one about a year ahead of time and we just didn't do it. But like I said, we had to pick one out that's good. And we got blessed by getting the right one.
Have we gone to new business yet?
Yes. Any new business?
I just want to say congratulations to First United Bank on
Thank
this
you.
award. It's very prestigious, and I think it's great that y'all are still in the NFL.
Thank you.
What
Appreciate that.
award
That's
is
the
that?
corporate office.
What kind of award is it?
Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's kind of Newsweek. I'll like I said to everybody, it's the best bank, kind of privately owned bank for us. Pretty big award for First United. Again, being corporate here, corporate office here in Grand Oklahoma, so pretty special. But I'll send it out to the group here.
We are actually going to send it out in our newsletter.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So it will be coming out in the newsletter, and you guys can see that as well.
Thank you.
Now, I know Greg is still around on that. Is John around at all?
He's been staying at home just because of COVID, with all that happening. But yeah, Greg's still up there. Comes by pretty much every other day.
Okay, we need, anybody making a motion to adjourn? Debbie,
Second.
Brandon, second?
Oh.
Any
yeah,
roll
roll
call?
Trustee Anthony?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scherer? Chairman Thorpe?
Yes. Go ahead and turn off your microphones.